Welcome, miladies of inestimable value. Some people build empires with words, others destroy them with whispers. There's a peculiar magnetism about Sigmas, those lone wolves who stride confidently through life, detached from the herd, yet undeniably influential. They don't chase validation, don't follow the rules, and somehow still manage to outshine the ones who do. This very enigma makes them the subject of endless gossip. It's fascinating, isn't it? While most people are busy posting every waking thought on social media, Sigmas remain in the shadows, their silence louder than the crowd's noise. Here's an interesting fact. Studies show that people are more likely to gossip about those who don't overshare their lives. Why? Because the less you reveal, the more room you leave for imagination. And humans love filling in the blanks. And let's be honest, we've all wondered at some point, what's their deal? Are they geniuses or just really good at pretending they don't care? But why exactly do Sigmas captivate so much chatter? Is it jealousy? Fascination? Or maybe it's just human nature to obsess over those we can't fully understand? Stick around, and we'll dive deep into the mystery behind why people can't stop whispering about Sigmas. And trust me, it's more entertaining than your group chat. Number 1, they attract contradictory interpretations. Sigmas are hard to define, and that's precisely what makes them the center of so much gossip. They're like a riddle wrapped in contradictions, independent yet magnetic, quiet yet commanding, approachable yet distant. This duality throws people off because humans like neat categories. We want to label someone as either a leader or a follower, an extrovert or an introvert, but Sigmas shatter those simple binaries. Their complexity forces people to interpret them in wildly different ways, and gossip becomes the natural outcome of this confusion. Some see Sigmas as cold or dismissive because they don't chase social approval, while others admire their confidence and self-reliance. One person might think they're arrogant for not engaging in small talk, while another sees them as deep thinkers who refuse to waste words. The same action, like walking away from a heated debate without saying much, can inspire both admiration and resentment, depending on who's watching. This creates endless fodder for gossip because everyone projects their own biases and insecurities onto the Sigma, crafting a version of them that fits their own narrative. The real kicker? Sigmas never clarify who they really are. They don't explain themselves, they don't argue, and they don't seek to change people's opinions. This only adds fuel to the fire, leaving everyone free to speculate without boundaries. Are they brilliant or detached, visionaries or loners? Gossip thrives in this ambiguity as people try and fail to pin down the truth. Ultimately, Sigmas remain an open-ended story, and the more people talk, the more mysterious they become. That's the irony. The more you try to define them, the more they slip through your fingers, leaving only the whispers behind. Number 2, their existence challenges mediocrity. Sigmas have an uncanny ability to disrupt the status quo just by existing. They don't follow the usual scripts, no chasing approval, no adherence to societal benchmarks, and certainly no desire to fit into anyone's expectations. Instead, they create their own rules and live by their own values, which can be both inspiring and deeply unsettling for those around them. When people see a Sigma thriving without conforming to the usual metrics of success, it forces them to take a hard look at their own lives. Are they stuck in jobs they hate? Are they staying in unfulfilling relationships just because it's what you're supposed to do? Are they living up to their own potential or simply coasting through life on autopilot? The Sigma, without saying a word, holds up a mirror to all of this mediocrity. And let's be real, most people don't like what they see. Gossip often becomes a defense mechanism. Instead of facing the uncomfortable truth that they might be settling, people redirect their discomfort outward, picking apart the Sigma's choices. They'll call them aloof, too independent, or even selfish, just to bring them down a notch. It's easier to label the Sigma as flawed than to admit that their boldness might highlight your own fear of stepping outside the box. What's worse is that Sigmas don't care about the gossip. They're not trying to prove anything to anyone, which only amplifies the frustration of those desperate to figure them out. In the end, it's not the Sigma's success that stings. It's the realization that they've chosen a path that most people are too afraid to take. And that's where the whispers start, not from hate, but from the discomfort of seeing someone else living the freedom you secretly crave. Number 3, their silence amplifies assumptions. Silence is a powerful tool, and Sigmas wield it effortlessly. While others feel the need to explain, defend, or dominate conversations, Sigmas choose to remain quiet, observing, calculating, and conserving their energy. This silence isn't passive, it's deliberate. But to the outside world, it's unnerving. People crave explanations and clarity, and when they don't get them, their imaginations run wild. In the absence of words, assumptions thrive. A Sigma's quiet demeanor leaves plenty of space for people to project their own interpretations. Is their silence a sign of strength or indifference? Are they wise or just hiding something? Do they know more than they're letting on, or are they simply uninterested? The lack of concrete answers fuels speculation, and gossip becomes a way to fill in the blanks. After all, people hate not knowing, and a Sigma gives them nothing to work with. Ironically, this silence can make the gossip even louder. Unlike alphas, who dominate the narrative by always being in the spotlight, Sigmas allow their mystery to grow unchecked. The fewer details they provide, the more exaggerated the stories become. Someone might interpret a quiet Sigma at a meeting as arrogant or dismissive, while someone else might see them as deeply intelligent and above the noise. The beauty of it all is that Sigmas don't care to correct these assumptions. Their silence isn't just a personality trait, it's a strategy. It allows them to stay in control without saying a word. The world around them scrambles to figure them out, spinning tales that say more about the gossipers than the Sigma themselves. And that's the irony. In trying to decode their silence, people only amplify their mystique, making the Sigma even more captivating, and of course, even more talked about. Number 4, they inspire both fascination and resentment. Sigmas live unapologetically on their own terms, and that's a rare thing. Their authenticity naturally draws people in. They don't fake emotions, wear masks, or engage in shallow pleasantries just to be liked. This raw honesty is magnetic, especially in a world where so many people bend over backward for approval. Being around a Sigma can feel refreshing, like finally meeting someone who isn't trying to impress you. But that same indifference to validation also stings. For some, the Sigma's refusal to play the social game feels like rejection. When someone doesn't seem to care about fitting in or winning favor, it can make others question their own need for acceptance. After all, why should someone who barely engages with the crowd still command attention and respect? This can trigger resentment, particularly from those who spend their lives chasing the spotlight. This paradox, being both captivating and dismissive, creates fertile ground for gossip. People want to understand Sigmas, to fit them into a neat box, but they can't. They're too independent to be followers, too reserved to be alphas, and too enigmatic to be ignored. Gossip becomes a way to make sense of the Sigma, to bridge the gap between fascination and frustration. Sigmas, of course, remain unbothered by any of this. They aren't interested in being categorized, nor do they seek to clarify or change how they're perceived. Their lack of concern only adds fuel to the fire, making them even more intriguing. Ultimately, the gossip says more about the people talking than it does about the Sigma, highlighting their inability to reconcile admiration with resentment. It's a cycle that keeps Sigmas at the center of attention, whether they want it or not. Number 5, their lone wolf status feels alien. Humans are inherently social creatures, hardwired to form connections, seek companionship, and operate within groups. That's why Sigmas, who not only thrive in solitude but actively choose it, can seem almost alien. Most people are used to measuring success and happiness through relationships, networks, and collective belonging. When someone like a Sigma comes along, independent, self-sufficient, and thriving without needing others, it disrupts this worldview. People simply don't know how to process it. The Sigma's lone wolf nature defies social norms. While others might fear being alone, Sigmas find strength in it. They don't need validation. They don't depend on anyone to chart their path. And they're perfectly content without the constant buzz of social interaction. To the average person, this can seem unsettling. Is there something wrong with them? Are they hiding something? Do they think they're better than everyone else? The inability to understand their choices leads to speculation, and gossip becomes the outlet. What's fascinating is how deeply this gossip reveals people's discomfort with the idea of solitude. For many, the thought of being alone conjures fear or insecurity. So the Sigma's comfort in their own company challenges deeply rooted beliefs about connection and dependency. To rationalize this anomaly, people create stories. They'll say things like, "They're just antisocial," "They're probably lonely," or "They don't fit in." These narratives make the Sigma's independence easier to digest, even if they're completely unfounded. But Sigmas don't isolate themselves to prove a point or make a statement. Their lone wolf status isn't a rebellion, it's just who they are. And that's precisely what makes it so hard for others to accept. Their existence serves as a quiet reminder that thriving outside the herd is possible, even if most people can't imagine it for themselves. Number 6. Their mystique forces speculation. Sigmas operate in the shadows, keeping their private lives tightly guarded. They're not the type to overshare on social media or spill their thoughts in casual conversation. Instead, they move quietly, revealing only what they want others to see. This deliberate privacy creates a mystique that people can't help but be drawn to. In a world where oversharing is the norm, the Sigma's silence and restraint feel like a puzzle begging to be solved. This lack of information invites endless speculation. When people don't have enough facts, their curiosity takes over, and they start filling in the blanks with their own assumptions. Why are they so quiet? What are they hiding? Are they secretly brilliant, or do they just want everyone to think so? The questions pile up, and before long those curious whispers turn into full-blown gossip. The allure of the Sigma lies in their unpredictability. They aren't flashy or attention-seeking, yet their very presence commands intrigue. People want to know what makes them tick, what they're thinking, and why they don't feel the need to explain themselves. The mystery becomes irresistible, especially for those who crave clarity and control. Gossip becomes a way for people to process the enigma of the Sigma. By creating stories about them, people feel like they're regaining some sense of understanding, even if those stories are pure fabrication. Ironically, the more they speculate, the more mysterious the Sigma becomes, perpetuating the cycle. And through it all, Sigmas remain unbothered. They don't feed into the curiosity, nor do they dispel the rumors. Their mystique is not a performance. It's simply a byproduct of their authenticity. And while others spin tales to fill the gaps, the Sigma continues to live on their terms, unshaken by the noise. Number 7. They subvert social norms without trying. Sigmas have an uncanny way of breaking all the so-called rules and still coming out on top. They don't chase traditional markers of success, don't seek validation, and don't conform to the societal expectations that dictate how people should behave. Yet they thrive. This contradiction baffles those who have spent their lives following the blueprint. Work hard, network, climb the ladder, fit in, and it often leads to gossip as people try to make sense of it. What unnerves people most about Sigmas is their ability to succeed without playing the game. They reject the pressure to follow trends, engage in social hierarchies, or pursue conventional paths. While others hustle to be seen or scramble for approval, Sigmas quietly forge their own way, often achieving success on their own terms. It's not that they're actively rebelling against the system, they simply don't care enough to participate in it. This non-conformity sparks envy and confusion. How can someone who doesn't engage in the usual grind still manage to thrive? How can they ignore the rules everyone else swears by and still win? People start whispering to rationalize the Sigma's success. They must be lucky. They're probably cheating the system, or they're just weird. Gossip becomes a coping mechanism, a way to dismiss what they don't understand. But Sigmas aren't interested in proving a point or flaunting their independence. They're just being themselves, unshackled by societal pressures. This authenticity disrupts the norm, forcing others to question the validity of their own choices. Deep down, the gossip often stems from discomfort. Because if a Sigma can thrive without the rules, it raises an unsettling question. Have I been wasting my time following them? That's a hard truth for most people to face, so they talk instead. Number 8. They ignore gossip, making it persist. Sigmas have mastered the art of indifference, especially when it comes to gossip. While others might scramble to defend their reputation or clear up misconceptions, Sigmas take the high road, one paved with silence and zero interest. To them, gossip is noise, a distraction unworthy of their energy or attention. But this very refusal to engage often backfires, feeding the flames of speculation instead of extinguishing them. People are naturally drawn to drama, and when a Sigma doesn't react, it leaves the door wide open for rumors to spiral. A lack of denial is often misinterpreted as confirmation, and silence becomes proof of whatever narrative people have cooked up. If it weren't true, wouldn't they say something? That's the logic many cling to, failing to realize that Sigmas simply don't care enough to bother correcting the record. This creates a vicious cycle. The more a Sigma ignores the gossip, the more curious and persistent the gossipers become. Their silence is like a blank canvas, inviting others to project their assumptions, insecurities, or even jealousy onto them. And the Sigma, ever detached, continues to live their life undisturbed, while the gossip around them takes on a life of its own. Ironically, this silence only enhances the Sigma's mystique. By refusing to engage, they maintain control over their narrative, or rather, the lack of one. They let the world speculate, knowing that the opinions of others have no bearing on their reality. It's a subtle power move, one that frustrates those desperate for a reaction. In the end, Sigmas win by default, because while others waste time talking, they're busy doing what they do best, thriving on their own terms. Number 9. They seem unreachable, yet intriguing. Sigmas have a rare combination of traits that sets them apart: independence, confidence, and a subtle charisma that draws people in without effort. They don't seek attention, yet it naturally gravitates toward them. This makes them aspirational figures to some, embodying a kind of freedom and self-assurance that others deeply admire. But admiration often comes with a side of intimidation. Sigmas seem untouchable, like they're operating on a plane that's just slightly out of reach for the average person. This air of being above it all isn't something Sigmas cultivate intentionally. It's just a byproduct of their self-reliance and refusal to conform. They don't need anyone's approval. They don't play by the usual social rules, and they aren't afraid to walk away from situations or people that don't align with their values. To some, this makes them icons of authenticity. To others, it feels like a personal affront, like the Sigma's indifference is a mirror reflecting their own insecurities. This tension between intrigue and intimidation leads to gossip. People want to understand Sigmas, to decode what makes them tick, but their detachment leaves too much room for speculation. How can someone be so self-sufficient and still command such presence? Are they really as confident as they seem? Or are they hiding something? Gossip becomes a way to make sense of someone so enigmatic, an attempt to pull them down to a level that feels more relatable or manageable. But the truth is, Sigmas aren't unreachable because they're trying to be. They just don't tether themselves to the expectations or opinions of others. Their intrigue lies in their authenticity, and their distance is simply the space they need to stay true to themselves. And while people gossip to fill the gaps, the Sigma remains what they've always been: untouchable, unbothered, and unapologetically themselves. Number 10. They don't reveal weaknesses. Sigmas have an innate ability to keep their vulnerabilities under wraps. While most people wear their emotions openly or share their struggles to gain sympathy or connection, Sigmas don't see the point. They process their challenges privately, keeping their composure intact for the outside world. This restraint creates an air of invincibility, making them seem almost untouchable, like they're immune to the struggles that weigh others down. But here's the catch. People don't like the idea of someone being above it all. Vulnerability is a universal trait, and when someone doesn't openly display it, it can feel unsettling. It's human nature to seek flaws in others, to confirm that no one has it all together. When a Sigma doesn't offer up their weaknesses for scrutiny, people start digging. Gossip becomes the tool for this excavation, an attempt to force cracks into the Sigma's seemingly unshakable armor. The gossip often takes an unkind turn. Instead of acknowledging the Sigma's resilience or self-reliance, People might paint them as cold, detached, or arrogant. They'll invent flaws where none are visible, saying things like, they think they're better than everyone else, or they're probably hiding something. This narrative serves as a way to humanize the Sigma, but not in a compassionate way. It's an effort to bring them down to a level where they seem less intimidating, more relatable, or even less worthy of admiration. Sigmas, however, remain unbothered by this chatter. They know their strength comes from within, not from the validation or judgment of others. By refusing to expose their weaknesses, they protect their peace and maintain their mystique. And while the gossipers try to make them seem flawed, all they really achieve is highlighting how rare and unshakable the Sigma's self-control truly is. Gossiping about Sigmas is, at its core, a reflection of the insecurities, confusion, and envy they inspire in others. These enigmatic individuals defy conventions, living authentically and independently, which disrupts the comfort of societal norms. Their mystique, resilience, and refusal to conform challenge people to confront their own choices, often stirring discomfort in those who seek validation through external measures. Whether it's their silence, selective energy, or unshakable self-reliance, Sigmas naturally stand apart, and that separation creates curiosity, admiration, and inevitably resentment. For those who feel overshadowed, intimidated, or powerless around Sigmas, gossip becomes a coping mechanism, a way to regain control, fill in the blanks, or bring them down to a level that feels less threatening. Yet in trying to undermine Sigmas, gossipers only highlight their own insecurities and amplify the Sigma's mystique. Sigmas, true to their nature, remain unaffected, letting the chatter fade into the background while they continue thriving on their own terms. In the end, the gossip says more about the people talking than it does about the Sigmas they obsess over. While others waste energy spinning stories, Sigmas quietly and confidently stay the course, embodying the strength, independence, and authenticity that most only aspire to. Their existence forces the world to rethink what it means to succeed and live fully, and that's precisely why people can't stop talking about them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Sigmas and why they spark so much intrigue, don't stop here. Let's keep the conversation going. Make sure to like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges conventional thinking, and share it with someone who needs to hear this perspective. Your support helps us bring you more thought-provoking topics, so hit that subscribe button and join a community that thrives on curiosity and authenticity. Let's break the mold together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, my ladies. See you in the next video. Bye for now and God bless.